Cheers. Good luck. Wow.
Oh, it's very close to contact. That had to be so close. Smoking in to the mark. It's game on. Here's an awesome race in towards the bottom gate. Have a go at the speed. 43 knots. This team is absolutely on fire.
Hello and welcome to all of you eSailing fans around the world. Welcome to you guys watching on eSailGP, watching this fantastic eSailGP 2020 Sydney qualifier final. 8 players has fought their way into this final, and tonight we are watching it live, where they will battling it out, and we'll see who will go into the grand final. And to help me through all this, let's invite in my co-commentator, Alec Wilkinson.
Hi, Thomas. Isn't this exciting? It's great to be back for the second season of eSailGP. And what a start we had last weekend in Sydney. 7 teams taking part there on Sydney Harbour. Some terrific racing. 2 new teams. Your country, Denmark, now represented in eSailGP, and Spain as well. And let me see. Which country was it that came out on top, Thomas?
I'm pretty sure it was the Vikings.
It certainly was not the Vikings. It was the British team, yes, yeah. And dominated they did. But your guys are new to the game, and I think the Vikings will be back, proving themselves in the future.
Alec, we are going to play the EF50 today, and here we can see the format here beside us. The format is we're going to race 3 races back to back. And then top 1 and 2 goes into a match race. But can you guide us a little bit through what's going to happen today?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have to say we've had 19,000 players taking part in qualification, and tonight we've got the top 8. So we really have the best eSailGP sailors with us tonight. So real quality. We've got 8 shows coming to you. Streamed live through the eSailGP season, and they generally coincide with the actual eSailGP weekend. So 8 live shows, 3 races within each show, and the top 2 then go to the final tonight, which is, of course, a match race.
Yeah. And the winner of that match race, winner takes it all. There's only one chance, like the real eSailGP, will qualify to the grand final. But one thing we need to say, these 8 players already qualified to the World Championship playoffs in September. Let's watch more about the format. We will be back in a few seconds. See something?
So race 1 is just a few seconds away. Let me introduce you to my co-commentator for this race. Top sailor from Belgium. He is called Cube, and I know he's really excited about this.
Hi, Alec. Yeah, I'm very enthusiastic to be here tonight. Well, together with these top-level sailors, they all showed what they're capable of in qualifiers, and I think we'll see some very exciting racing tonight. So a lot is coming up now.
Okay, well, let's get the race underway, and there you can see we've got some of the top players in the world competing, and talk us through some of those. So Havuk is up first from Turkey. He has got 100% record in qualification. So that means he's raced his minimum 13 races, and he got 100%. He won 13 races back to back. So an incredible result for him.
Indeed, but he wasn't the only one. We saw Lucas Moore doing the same in 21 races. And even Filippo Lanfranchi, the world champion, did the same, also had a perfect 100 score.
Yeah. So 20 seconds to the start of this race, and some real names. We've got Luca SMPJ from Italy, Stipe Coach from Croatia, Clack from Denmark. Who are the ones to, who do you think is the one to look out for right now?
Well, I think if we look at the qualifiers, Havuk is really a dangerous player right now, but all of them have such a high performance. So it will be very, very exciting.
Okay, so we are underway in our very first race of eSailGP as they conclude that reach and head downwind to the first mark. A good start from Clack of Denmark. So it's a Denmark 1 and 2 with Clack and Lucas Moore in first and second.
And now the first downwind mark coming up, the first gate, and we see immediately a split between Clack going to the right side and Lucas Moore on the left. Now coming together.
I should point out that the players get to choose the livery of their boats from one of the 7 real teams in SailGP. So their actual nationality may not reflect the boat that they're sailing necessarily. But anyway, it's Denmark doing really well here.
Indeed, Denmark for the moment in position 1 and 2, but it's a big battle between Lucas Moore and Clack now. According to the server, they are switching positions all the time, but it looks like we'll see a very important cross who will decide probably the whole race. Let's see that.
So we're looking at Havuk here, but right out in front, it's Clack. And there's the cross as he goes in front with the Dane, the other Dane now, out on that ley line. And you can see them coming into the gate. Lucas Moore out in front. Then comes Clack. The Italian in second. So close. And just tries to sneak in, but picks up a penalty, does Clack. And that is going to cost him dearly.
Indeed, and now it's Lucas Moore having a free race towards this downwind gate, followed by Filippo and Luca in third position.
So we're looking at the world champion, Filippo Lanfranchi of Italy in second place. He's trying to catch Lucas, who's, you can see, is just off the ley line as they come to this mark. 7 legs to be completed in each of the races. Lucas Moore still out in front, goes to the right-hand side. Lanfranchi decides to split and come towards us. Havuk with the orange sail in fourth.
Yeah, very small decision by Filippo Lanfranchi of attacking immediately after the gate. So now he went to the left and is stacking right now because of that border, which you may not cross actually. And well,
we've got another cross coming up, and it's Lucas Moore that gets out in front. But look at this between Lanfranchi and Luka Kozlovic.
Now it's Luka attacking again, probably just behind Lucas Moore to stay out of that dirty wind. And Filippo Lanfranchi now coming from the right-hand side. He's stacking right now and coming back towards the upwind mark, towards the upwind gate.
So Lucas Moore out in front. He's just going to tuck in now onto that ley line with Luka Kozlovic currently in second. Crosses behind, and he's going to follow Lucas Moore through the gate. But what about Lanfranchi here? Is he going to sneak in? Oh, he goes to the far mark. And a split now between the Italian and the Dane in first and second. Lanfranchi still in third. And Havuk in fourth.
A small wind shift, which costed Filippo Lanfranchi his second place. So he had to tack another time before rounding the upwind mark.
So here we go towards the finish line, the final reach for Lucas Moore of Denmark. And he crosses the finish line. He's our first winner of the night. And behind him is Luka Kozlovic crossing the line in second. Then comes Filippo Lanfranchi, our world champion, in third. Havuk finishes in fourth. So a fascinating race. What can we learn from that, Cube, as we confirm the winner as Lucas Moore, Luka Kozlovic of Italy, known on the World Championship circuit as SMPJ Luca, Filippo Lanfranchi in third. So good result for the Italians, but ultimately it's Lucas Moore that gets the win. So let's have a look at some of these stats, Cube.
Yeah, so we saw Havuk having that very, very nice start, first start of the best start of the fleet. Then, well, Lucas Moore, of course, he did a very, very good race with always looking for those high pressure regions, and he managed to get that best average speed because of that. Then the shortest distance sailed, which is also an important stat, went also to Havuk. So it's very strange that he went on to finish fourth actually. But of course there are multiple factors making that possible.
Fascinating race then, and congratulations to our winner, our first winner of the night. We've got two more fleet races to come before we choose our two top sailors of the evening who will go to the final match race later on tonight.
3, 2, 1. Brand new sailing adventure.
1 minute 35. What are you thinking? 8, 7, flag it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Looks like they're gone. No, the tip of the wing is in the water.
It doesn't get any more extreme than that.
Right behind it, straight over the top of Japan. And he's very close once again. Draper just getting thrown out of his position there.
Still plenty to play for him. Here we go, boys.
They are coming down here in an absolute beauty of a gust.
Oh, GBR's capsized.
It's time to get up and party. Australia is the 2019 SailGP champion.
We are.
Welcome back to our live coverage, our very first live stream of eSailGP, our second season, and it's been exciting stuff. And Cube, just explain to us a little bit about the rules and about that first race and how it went.
Well, in the first race we had some problems with players not being able to connect. So we decided to restart the race now with all the players, and well, I think it was a good training for them to battle it out against each other. They could see what everyone's doing, so maybe it will be even more tense this time.
All right, so let's get going again. We've met some of our sailors already. We've talked a bit about Havuk, but what about Lucas Moore? A great performance from him at the first attempt at getting this race away. He's another man who's got a 100% record in qualifying, needed 21 races to achieve that. And if you're thinking of joining the qualification rounds, it's pretty simple. You basically need a minimum of 13 races. And then it depends how many you win, and the percentage you get of that decides whether you come through to this final race, to the final live stream.
Indeed, that's well, it's not such a difficult way, but of course it's not very easy to get it. And those three guys getting that 100 perfect score, they really showed how good they are. and how big of a threat they are tonight to the other sailors.
So just a few seconds from the start. And remember, they're trying to hit that zero, that line on zero. Clack making headway here at the start. And Cruzolator was over early. Lucas Moore was over early. So a poor start from them. They have to go back and start again. But who is it at that first mark on the first reach? It's Peppe D'Amato of Italy, followed by Luka Kozlovic, and Clack of Denmark hits that mark on third. Filippo Lanfranchi picked up a penalty, and that is going to cost him because his boat will slow down, and then he'll have to make his way back up the fleet. But at the first gate, it's Peppe D'Amato out in front, Clack second, and Luka Kozlovic in third.
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting upwind, as we see on the radar in the top left corner that there is much more wind on the right side. So all players now going towards that side. So is Peppe D'Amato still in first position. And Luka, well, Luka is a bit more on that side. So maybe Luka will be able to tack and cross Peppe D'Amato.
Now, Luka Kozlovic out in front. They call him the the little magician, 16 years old. Basically, he's a magician because he's really very, very good and was a World Championship finalist last year, but also because he has Harry Potter glasses. So that's the little community joke about him. Peppe D'Amato, though, is out in front after that that manoeuvre, ahead of Luka, and then it's Havuk of Turkey, who qualified as the top qualifier after those races earlier on this week. But Havuk needs to pull the rabbit out of the hat here. He had a poor first race. Luckily for him, he's getting to have a second chance at that. And he's moved up into second. Oh, there was a clash there between Havuk and the other boat there, and that means that Havuk has been slowed down by the computer at that gate. So you've got to say, though, Cube, it was difficult for Havuk to avoid that, wasn't it?
It was very difficult, but also don't forget, we saw in the upwind Luka having a very close call with Peppe and losing a lot of speed there because he had to do a double tack. So because we had that clash between Clack and the other boats, Luka had a chance to come back into that second position. So he made a really good move there, and well, everything he lost in that upwind, he regained it by the clash of the other boats.
All right, through this gate once again with our leaders, Peppe and Luka of Italy out in front, but a definite split. And the majority have chosen that right-hand side of the course, Cube. Is that the right decision or the wrong?
Yeah, actually it is the right decision. As you can see in the radar, like I said, top left corner, there you see very clearly the dark spot, the dark area on the right of the radar, which means there is much more wind pressure there. So you want to be on that side, and certainly in those EF50s, those boats go really fast, but you can lose a lot of places by just going to a low pressure area.
And also minimizing maneuvers is important, isn't it, in the EF50, because it does make up so much distance. It is so fast that maneuvers slow you down and lose you places.
Indeed, so that's where those borders come in, those boundaries, because they make sure that you have to tack, you have to make maneuvers, and this game keeps the game very exciting.
Peppe D'Amato out in front at this gate, followed closely by Luka Kozlovic, and then it's Cruzolator. We haven't spoken much about him. He's also a 2 times world champion finalist. Oh, and a penalty for Lucas Moore, who won last time round. Another penalty for Havuk. He's having a bad time of things. Do you think because he's been so strong in qualifying, some of the other sailors have sort of decided to attack him, to be more aggressive against him, Cube?
Well, I don't think so. I think everyone is focusing so hard on his own game, because in those EF50s, one maneuver can really ruin your whole race. And I think Havok had a bit of problems with his own boat control, and that made him get those penalties.
Okay, so we have a winner. Pepe takes the victory, and that was a really dominant performance. Luca challenged him all the way round, but a great performance in the end from the Italian to get that win ahead of Luka Kozlovic, and it's a third place for Cruzolator of Spain. And Havok, in the end, with all those penalties he picked up, finished in 6th. Let's have a look at some of these stats. Tell us what these say.
Well, the stats have something very interesting to say. Well, we see Pepe D'Amato he won the race, but he's nowhere to be seen in those stats. So he didn't sail the shortest distance, have the best average speed, and still he managed to win that race. So very, very good performance from him. An overall performance, actually. But if we look at those stats, we see Cruzolator finishing first, having the best start, then best average speed went to Clark. And well, the other thing, shortest distance sailed went to Stipicoach, Croatia, who finished 7th actually, but still managed to do a very short distance.
Great stuff. Well, that's race number 1 done and dusted, and very shortly we'll be ready for the second race of the night.
You can't beat San Francisco. I love it here.
Coming to New York, it's going to make for some epic looking racing.
We've got a special event coming up here at eSailGP.
16 are competing from various countries on these 50-foot catamarans.
That's fantastic, man. This venue is iconic.
The fastest race boats on the planet and one of the most relentless places to go sailboat racing.
USA are about to win.
Hopefully that was on camera somewhere.
Being a U.S. team, it's going to be huge.
I don't know, it's like playing in the World Series.
And Cruzolator of Spain in 3rd. But how is race number 2 going to go? Cube still in the commentary box with me. What have you seen in that first race, and of course our first attempt at that race as well, the abandoned race? What have you seen that might suggest who's going to go through to the final tonight?
Well, I think what I've seen is that the results are changing a lot, and we saw Lucas Moore winning that first, kind of practice race, but then finishing last in the second one. So that means that the level is so close to each other that everyone can win if they just have a good start, make some nice mark roundings, pick the right side. Everyone has a chance to be in that final match race tonight.
All right. So our winner from the first race, our second placed Luca of Italy in the picture there. He's very calm, collected. You see what I mean about why we call him the little magician of eSailing, and he's looking fairly calm and collected. Lucas Moore, so dominant in our abandoned race, didn't quite pull it off in the second race, but there we go. We'll see him come back. He's a very accomplished Danish eSailor.
Now all boats accelerating towards the starting line with 15 seconds to go. It's very important that you get over that starting line at full speed to get the most momentum out of your boat.
Absolutely. You've got to hit that as close to 0 as possible. And they are over. It is go for race number 2 of the night. Cruzolator getting a good start, closest to us, coming into the mark on this first reach. And it is so busy, so congested, but Cruzolator sneaks round in first, Lucas Moore in second. Filippo Lanfranchi picks up a penalty.
And also
that'll slow him down. He doesn't look happy by that, does he? So Cruzolator round that mark first with Lucas Moore in second, Clack in third. So it's Spain and then 2 Danes.
Indeed,
and
it's all very close.
Cruzolator choosing to come out on his own on this far left side.
Yes, it's an interesting choice from him because well, in the radar it looks like the right hand side is still better, and still it looks like it's paying off as Cruzolator is still in the lead. So his decision might be a very good.
Yeah, look at that distance that he's built up already in these early stages of the race. We're only on leg 3 of 7. Cruzolator well out in front, 50 metres ahead of Lucas Moore of Denmark. Cruzolator, who actually qualified for the World Championship finals this year, but couldn't make it because he had to go and get married. There are a lot of long-standing, suffering wives and girlfriends who who are real support for these top sailors. But I think cancelling your wedding just so that you can compete is probably a little bit too much. All right, here we go with our leader. We're having a look at Cruzolator through that gate. And that is a fantastic performance from him at the moment. Second place, Lucas Moore. Luka Kozlovic now in third. And we'll be interested to see if he can close the gap. But what is it, about 250 metres or so between Cruzolator and the second placed Dane? Do you think any of them can close that gap, Cube?
Well, in the EF50, everything is possible. Those gaps seem really big, but it's really just one mistake during attack or one wrong mark rounding that you make, and then everything can be closed down again. So we cannot say anything before the race is over, and it's still an open race.
Well, we were talking about whether they could close the gap. That gap's already been closed considerably by Lucas Moore on this leg. Right behind him, Luka Kozlovic, all on that far side, on the right-hand side of the course. And they're taking it right to the boundary. Looking at the screen, tell us about the conditions, Cube.
Well, right now it's we see the windsock on the left, indicating that there might be a wind shift there. And that's the one that Cruzolator has taken. Right now he had to tack, of course, because of that boundary. But there's still more pressure on the right, so it's very difficult to make that decision between going to the left and taking that wind shift or staying on the right into that high pressure area.
White lines on your screen if you're watching these streams for the first time, what we call the ley lines, the most efficient way of getting to the mark. And Cruzolator is at the gate and he is round first. 160 odd meters between him and the second place boats. But what a battle for second between Luka Kozlovic and Lucas Moore of Denmark. That's going to be a fascinating battle as it unfolds in these latter stages of the race. Really close between those two. And then it's quite some distance back to fourth placed Clack 1, 2, 3. But let's watch Cruzolator cross the finish line to take his first victory of the night. So that is a first and a third. 2 podium finishes for Cruzolator of Spain. Now, what about this battle for second and third? Looks like Lucas Moore has it. Crosses the line ahead of Luka Kozlovic of Italy. So a good result again for those two. Lucas Moore is beginning to come back from a disappointing first race.
Indeed, it looks like he's found his rhythm back, And with that second place really showed how capable he is of well, doing some very good performances.
Yeah. So victory for Cruzolator then. Second place for Lucas Moore, and Luka Kozlovic this time is in third. So 2 podium finishes for him as well tonight. Clack 1, 2, 3 is in fourth. So that's his second fourth place finish of the night. And our world champion, Philippe Lanfranchi, gets his second fifth place finish of the night. And Pepe, who won, of course, race number 1, is down in sixth this time. Be interesting to see how he does in that final race.
Now let's go over to those stats. We see Lucas Moore having the best start with Cruzolator, really going for that. Well, he really went for those high pressure areas, and it showed off as he had the best average speed and also best maximum speed. Then, well, while we didn't saw Pepe last race, now we see him having sailed the shortest distance. So a very good race from him. Although he didn't, he did just finish sixth.
Let's have one final look at Cruzolator, our winner of this race. There he is. How happy are you, Mr. Cruzolator, tonight? We can't hear you, but you can give us a thumbs up. Good stuff, mate. 2 podium finishes, and he must be confident in making the grand final tonight, the final match race that we will see as our 4th live streamed race. So that's races 1 and 2 done and dusted. Race 3 is next.
You can't beat San Francisco. I love it here.
Coming to New York, it's going to make for some epic looking racing.
You've got a special event coming up here at eSailGP.
16 are competing from various countries on these 50-foot catamarans.
That's fantastic. Like, this venue is iconic.
The fastest race boats on the planet and one of the most relentless places to go sailboat racing.
USA are about to win.
Hopefully that was on camera somewhere.
Being a U.S. team is going to be huge.
I don't know, it's like playing in the World Series.
Welcome back. We have race 3 of the night coming your way live. It's the eSailGP series, and it's season 2, and this is our first live stream of the season, and it's been exciting so far in our first 2 races. Cube is in the commentary box with me, the Belgian eSailor, and giving us some real insight into how to sail this game and what all the little quirks are that you've got to look out for. So if you've never given it a go, now might be the time, and we'll tell you all about how to get into qualifying for the next race. But we're about to start race 3. We are, of course, in Sydney, Australia, as the real SailGP was over the weekend, and we are looking at our winner of the last race, Cruzolator of Spain. He's got 2 podium finishes already, and he is a twice world champion finalist. Will he deliver here? If he wins, of course, whoever wins here tonight will go through to our grand final in the summer to pick up the most amazing prize, and we'll tell you more about that in a little while. So we've got about 40 seconds to go. We're looking at Havuk of Turkey, who's had a great season so far, but needs to step it up if he wants to make the final match race tonight. So Clack also, well, he's been consistent. He's been mid-fleet all night tonight. So 2 4th place finishes for the Dane. And we'll see how he gets on in this race with 10 seconds to go. Which side of the line's best at the moment?
Right now, I would say middle, just as they are doing right now.
Exactly where they're all aiming for. Good call, Cube, as they head towards that that first mark on the reach. It's leg 1 of 7. And it's Luka Kozlovic round first, but penalties all round. It was a very busy mark rounding. It's just like Formula One. That first bend is you've got to be so careful, and you've got to balance getting there first with crashing into others. And that has really shuffled the pack. And for the first time, we see steeper coach Croatia out in front for the first time tonight. Cruzolator in there as well. Filippo Lanfranchi, world champion, picks up a penalty, drops down the order. So a fascinating, exciting start to this third race of the night. And at the moment, steeper coach Croatia still out in front. Whew, let's catch our breath, Cube.
Yeah, very, very exciting. That those first mark roundings, it's just when all those boats start at high speeds and you see them coming together. You just hold your breath. You can't do anything. And I think even for them, it's really difficult to make sure that you get that nice mark rounding without any penalties.
We got a shot of Havuk there, trying to claw his way back up. He's currently, doing the business, but will he still be in the lead at this mark? We will see shortly, because the meters, they're running out of track in their challenge to the first mark. Havuk out in front then. Havuk is carrot. It means carrot in Turkish. He is a redhead, and that's where he gets his nickname from. So he is out in front, and he is going to round the mark through that gate. Which way will he choose? He chooses, as we look at it, the far side, and heads back up the left side of the course. Steeper coach still in the mix there in third place. Cruzolator trying to chase the leader down though.
Yeah, right now we saw steeper coach following the leader Havuk towards that left side on the screen, into that high pressure area. But now Cruzolator being able to actually jibe on him and to cover him. So you see that wind shadow coming over steeper coach. So there will be possibly a small decrease in speed from on his side, but we'll see how it affects his second place.
Oh, Havuk, I thought he'd hit the mark there, but no, he's fine. No penalties handed out. So he's still out in front. What is the, we're talking about the wind shadow. What is it on the EF50? How big a wind shadow do these boats create?
Well, they create a fairly big wind shadow, but the interesting part about it is when going downwind, because those boats go faster than the wind. Actually, the wind shadow is not in front of the boat, but it's behind it, because because the boats are they are catching their own wind shadow. So that makes it very difficult, and also very different to the other boats in this game. It's very a whole new world for those sailors.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, at the moment, Havuk is still out in front. We're looking at Cruzolator, winner of the previous race. It's all about consistency in this format. They've got these 3 races to come out as the top 2 and make it through to the final match race. But Havuk is there and is still in the lead. And that lead is around 80 meters from steeper coach Croatia, who is currently putting in his best performance of the night.
Yeah, very nice situation for Havuk. He's steady into that first place, and the second and third place are fighting very hard with a penalty right now. A penalty for Lucas Moore, trying to go on the inside and not making it right through. So Cruzolator now into that second place, and he will probably third place, sorry. And he will probably make it round the last mark into third.
Let's watch our leading boat cross that finish line. Havuk of Turkey gets the victory in race number 3. But will that be enough after 2 poor races earlier on in the night to make it through to the final? So steeper coach of Croatia is second. Cruzolator makes it in third. And Pepe D'Amato is fourth. But we'll watch clack of Denmark cross that line and finish the race so that we can confirm the results. Here they are. Havuk out in front then. The Croatian getting second. Cruzolator getting third. That's his third podium finish of the night. We'll see what happens after the computer's added up all the points and see who's come out top two. But you've got to fancy Cruzolator's chances, haven't you? Let's have a look at the stats.
The stats are just they're beautiful. I mean, Havuk, except for that start where Stipecoach had the best start and managed to round the first two marks in first position, Havuk really showed that he was on fire, and he had to do everything. He had to win to get a chance of making it to the final match race. So we'll see if that was enough, that win was enough. But I think he did everything he could.
All right, so we will shortly be able to confirm which two sailors have made it through to tonight's final in the match race final of this first stream here in Sydney. And we'll bring you that in a few minutes' time.
The thing I'm most looking forward to this season is seeing another boat out on the water.
Into the first mark.
This is unbelievable racing.
Very close.
Super fast boats right next to shore. There's nothing that goes anywhere near the speeds these boats go.
I think it's the pinnacle of sailing, both now and in the future.
Season 2, we're going to have a new wing on the boat. This wing will be a modular wing, so depending on different types of wind conditions, we can add area or take away area.
It's completely different. It feels different to sail. I feel like these boats are going to go fast. With the 18-metre wing on, we'll see every single team break 50 knots.
A small nation like Denmark, we are a classic underdog.
More and more teams, more and more of the world's best sailors are going to want to get involved because it's the place to be right now.
Ben Ainsley's the most accomplished sailor in history.
He's been there and done it, and he knows how to win.
Nikolai is also one of the talents of the sport and of his generation.
I'd like to be around where the best sailors and the best competition are, and that's definitely here.
I've sailed with Tom and against Tom. I think he's a super competitive guy. He'll be pushing really hard.
We're keen to prove that he can't win SailGP. He might be able to win everything else, but not SailGP.
The competition is going to be so fierce that everyone's going to want to beat everyone, and that's what happens when you get the best sailors involved.
A little lower, Taylor.
I think the championship is, I think we're going to see Great Britain and Australia in a real dogfight in 2020.
Whenever you're racing, you've got to try and win, right?
Japan, Australia, those are the top teams. I think those are the favourites coming into this second season, and it's for us and the other new teams to chase them and try and hunt them down.
For us, we need to just keep pushing this first event in Sydney. We've got to make sure that we're ahead of the game, and when everyone else hits the water here, they realise that we've taken a big jump. We proved that last year, that Australia's the best country in the world in sailing, and no one can knock us off, and now we're ready to do it for year 2.
Goes on to win this qualifier final.
Yeah, great, exciting stuff. So basically, each winner of the match racing final goes through to the grand final at the end of the season. And we will have 8 players in total at the end of the season who will have qualified for that final grand final. Well, here they are. We've got Luka Kozlovic on the left-hand side, Cruzolator on the right. So let's just have a look at their form. So Luka Kozlovic got a second, a third, and then a disappointing 5th in the third race. Whereas Cruzolator, well, he hasn't been off the podium all night. He's got 2 third-place finishes and 1 victory. So based on that, Cruzolator is on form, has got the better form tonight. How do you see it, Cube?
I think match race is a completely different format, so it will still be something very exciting, and it's difficult to say actually who will win that final match race. But
All right, well, let's get out onto the water because they're sitting there and the anxiety nerves build. They don't want shaky fingers, not in this game. So we'll go out onto the water and see how the timer is doing. I know the server is being reset. So Cube, you're talking obviously about the different format. Just explain what sort of tactics we can see, especially in the start here.
Well, I think when talking about that different format, it's very important that we saw earlier in those races that boats, when they are racing in a fleet, they really concentrate on their own performance. While now, because you're only two participants, you really want to make sure that you're always in front of the other one. There's just one thing: or you win or you lose. So it's much closer, and also at the start they try to get close to each other, give each other penalties to get that best start.
Okay, well at the moment Cruzolator is just sort of doing little turns, testing his boat far away from the start line. Luka Kozlovic is now picking up speed and making his way to that start line because there's 4 seconds to go and they are away in the final, the match racing final here in Sydney of eSailGP. Who's going to be first to the mark? It's going to be the Italian on the inside there. So a good move, and immediately the two split and they come together and they're heading towards that downwind gate. Which way do you think they're going to go?
Well, the radar shows us the left side. The left side seen from here is a bit better. So and they're both taking that gate. So but now we see a split from Cruzolator. So it looks like he's, despite the fact that there is more wind on the left side, he's still picking that right side. Hopefully there is a wind shift on his side so he can be back into first position, but still very close.
So tactics very different, obviously, between fleet racing and match racing. And you start to see more of the personality of the sailor in match racing. Which ones are more aggressive, which ones take the battle, the fight to their opponents, and which ones are more defensive and maybe a little bit more laid back. But right now, the Italian is out in front, but it is so close with Cruzolator just 30 meters behind.
Yeah, indeed, like you're saying, Alec, it's in match racing, each sailor has his own tactics, his own way of doing it, and they all think that their tactic is, of course, the best one. So it's going to be very exciting if Luka can manage to hold that lead, because it's not very big. Those boats are very close to each other, rounding that first upwind gate.
So we're going to see them come through this gate. They round the mark and then they head downwind, and you're going to see their speed accelerate away as they head towards the downwind mark. And Luka trying to build some distance, breathing space between himself and the Spaniard, but Cruzolator staying in touch.
Yeah, with speeds of over 45 knots at the moment, they are going really fast towards that downwind gate. And then we'll see that battle again in the second upwind.
So looking at those wind shadows, how much of an effect is that on Cruzolator? Well, he's now split away and chosen the different mark. And look at the distance. He's eaten up the distance between himself and Luka Kozlovic. And that was a decisive move to split at the gate. He slots in right behind him. He's got right of what? He's got picked up a penalty, Luka Kozlovic. So you see that circle that was giving Cruzolator. He had right of way there. He just hooked Luka Kozlovic, gave him a penalty. Kozlovic has now had to slow down and pick up that penalty. And now Cruzolator is building up his lead. And this is in the penultimate leg of the race. So time is running out for Luka Kozlovic to catch up.
Yeah, with 2 legs to go, it looks like Cruzolator is really on his way of winning this final match race. That penalty he gave to Luka was really decisive, and it changed the whole race. But right now it looks like the wind is still changing. So maybe we'll see another split of those 2 boats.
Oh, the story of this race may yet have to be written, because Cruzolator was out in front, but I think Kozlovic might just have him at this gate. Luka Kozlovic comes into the gate. They're side by side, bow to bow, and Cruzolator came out best.
Indeed, it's Cruzolator going downwind towards that final mark rounding, and now Luka can just hope for Cruzolator to touch that mark to get another penalty, because otherwise the race is over.
Well, was there anything you think Luka, did he miss out a trick? Was there something he could have done there briefly?
I think the big mistake was probably made at that penalty, where Luka had to tack.
But here we go with the Spaniard Cruzolator, who's had a terrific night here in Sydney. He's got his second victory of the night, but the most important of all, he wins the match racing final in Sydney, and the 2 times world champion finalist is through to the grand final of eSailGP. What a night for Cruzolator. 2 third places, 2 victories, and disappointment for Luka Kozlovic. Do you think he could have done anything more, Cube? Just explain. You were talking about his mistake. I cut across you. Just finish what you were saying about that.
Yeah, well, I think in sailing, and certainly in match racing, it's not about being the best boat out there. It's about making the less amount of mistakes. From the moment you make a mistake, you lose some meters, and it's from there that it starts.
So, Cruzolator, we can hear you now. Congratulations. Give us a little celebration. How do you feel?
Very well. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was an amazing night.
Are we going to hear from him?
Yes.
So, okay.
Do you hear me, Alec?
All right. Well, and what made you so consistent tonight? 4 races, 2 victories, and 2 third places.
Yes. I had a good day. The first race I had due the penalty at the start, but I could get a third, and then I just want
to get Luka in and ask Luka Kozlovic a question. Where do you think it went wrong in the final?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Let's just try that one more time. Luka, it's Alec in the studio. Can you tell me, what do you think went wrong in that race?
I think the bow, the last gate, I must turn the left, and I think that is my mistake.
Okay, so Cruzolator, you're through to the grand final. Are you going to keep playing in the qualifiers and to try and make it to play again or not?
I don't know if I can play the next qualifier. I want to. I need to train to the final for the final.
Right. Okay. Yeah. As far as I understand it, you certainly can compete. You just won't make it into the next match racing final. That's all, because you've qualified already for the grand final.
Yes.
So you do need to train, and I guess it'll be easier to train without the pressure of having to qualify.
Okay. It's always better. Practice without the pressure.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Congratulations, Cruzolator. Bad luck to Luka, but I think we'll be seeing Luka in a match racing final again very soon.
What a ending of tonight's race. Fantastic to see how they were doing. And Alec, what do you think about this new format?
Yeah, I love the format. It's exciting. It's quick. It's fast, which is kind of what we want online, really, in eSailing. It's exciting, and we get a result on the night. You know.
Yeah. But see here how these guys has been practicing and practicing. Villas the 7-1, 51 years old. Luka Kozlovic, 16 years old. All ages are playing and really fighting for it.
All ages are playing, and I'm doing my own little survey, which I'm starting now. And at the end of the season, I want to see whether these fast EF50 boats are better sailed by the youngsters, or whether experience can count. Because certainly in the World Championships, we saw, you know, a lot of the experienced, the older, more experienced guys come out on top. But let's see when it comes to the lightning quick reactions that you need for the EF50.
Yeah. But what a pleasure to have you and Cube in studio, and congratulations again to Cruzolator, and thank you for all of you watching this show. We can see that a lot of you have been watching it, so please following it, please play the game. If you want to play it, go into Virtual Regatta Inshore. It's a free app and you can play it. Next time we will see you is in a what we call a pop-up, so you only have 24 hours to qualify, and then after we go to the USA, to San Francisco.
San Francisco.
And, yeah, with eSailGP. Thank you, and we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
Oh, it's very close to contact. That had to be so close. Smoking in to the mark. It's game on. Here's an awesome race in towards the bottom gate. Have a go at the speed, 43 knots. This team is absolutely on fire.